Dougie Beattie, who's been following events, and they've got till midnight tonight. But clearly, from what Sir Geoffrey Donaldson was saying, they're doing no chance of the Ulster, or the DUP rather, coming on board.
Definitely not. I mean, you can see the sort of pressure they're under. They're under that pressure from all other parties here, but also it appears from Heaton Harris, the Secretary of State. This isn't unusual for Northern Ireland. In 2017, the last elections, Sinn Féin stayed out for 1,044 days. That was more time out than they were in. So there's not many. This Stormont Assembly here, it is more, I suppose, relevant to a local council. It doesn't have any fiscal raising powers. It has a block grant of about 9.6 billion, then Barnett consequentials of about 8.4, 8.5 billion. So about 18 billion amongst 1.9 million people. It's a pretty good purse, and how they can't make it work is beyond most that's here. The parties here want to get on with the job, but of course the protocol is driving horse and carriages right through the middle of the Good Friday Agreement, and that's all about consent. It's all about taking Northern Ireland away from the rest of the UK, its biggest customer. Geoffrey Donaldson made no bones about it when he stood. In fact, these institutions were brought down in February with the resignation of Paul Givan. He resigned as First Minister, leaving whatever ministers were at the executive table still in place. Legislation was put through the House of Westminster to keep them in place for 24 weeks after the new election on the 5th of May. That comes to an end at 11:59 tonight, and we will see what happens then. But it is widely mooted now that Chris Heaton Harris will be calling elections, and we will imagine they will be somewhere in mid-December, in around the 15th of that month.
Politicians from all parts of the divide indicating that election probably is not going to solve anything.
Well, it's not, because what will happen is, and it is not, it's no way strange that the SDLP and the Ulster Unionists are the most animated in this whole process in the chamber, because they are the two middle ground, if you like, nationalist and unionist parties. And of course Sinn Féin will turn this into a border poll and say that, you know, we deserve a border poll. So a lot of nationalists will vote for Sinn Féin, and an awful lot of unionists will then vote for the DUP, whether they like it or not, in order to stay as part of the UK. And what will happen is we will polarise Northern Ireland even further, and when it comes back after that election, we will still be with no government because the protocol has not been sorted. And that's all well and good in a lot of ways. That's up to the EU with London to sort that out. The worrying thing, of course, is what fills that vacuum when that happens. There was quite a lot of serious civil disturbance and so forth in Northern Ireland last year over the protocol. Politicians saying they would sort it out. Article 16 was going to be fired, was going to be used, and of course it wasn't. And we've now got to this space. But Liz Truss had been making progress in this. I mean, I spoke to hauliers last week who in particular are very angry about the situation, because it is putting thousands of pounds onto pallets and goods coming into Northern Ireland.
Dougie, thank you very much indeed for that at Stormont. Let's